Hello, everybody. This is Angelo Batio and the latest installment of the No Boundaries Facebook live chats. Now, today's topic is very simply sweeps. Now, this is brand new software here that Facebook did. So they love to screw things up. And so I'm not even sure where the questions are, but I just want to start. Let me see this chat. Okay, so you guys have to forgive me. This is brand new. Okay, let's see. Online. Okay, I see who's kind of online, but I'm not seeing any questions so far. Okay, so anyway, I would just like to say this, that thanks for everybody for tuning in. And, with this crazy, life that we have to live right now with this coronavirus, okay, here we go. I would just like to say that, I appreciate that everybody, I think a lot of the world's being pretty vigilant about this. And, I don't read a lot of the news. I just kind of keep up with kind of what's going on. I'm in the Chicago area and, it's kind of a lockdown. But I know that the numbers should be tapering off pretty soon. And, then we can get back to rocking. So anyway, this is sponsored by Sawtooth Guitars, Sawtooth Amps, and ChromaCast Musical Products. My string dampener is from ChromaCast. My guitar picks are the Angelo Batio Signature ChromaCast pick. Let me show you. It's 1.3 millimeters of depth, and it's a jazz style guitar pick. It's a teardrop shape, but I love it for rock and metal because it's got a clear sound to it. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Okay, now I see. Okay, any advice on practicing sweep picking? That's what we're going to talk about in today's lesson. Now, I became a master of sweep picking, and very early on in my career, I started to see, I'm a piano player, so I would go to the piano, and every time I played, I called it my intimidation riff. So I would go to the piano. The first thing I would do is play this E minor arpeggio, but I would add a 9. So I would play an F sharp on my right hand. So the bass would just be E, G, B, but then the right hand would use that F sharp, and it was really impressive. I would go, yes, next. And so, what are you going to do? In other words, I used to call it the intimidation riff. That's the first thing that I ever did when I played piano. And it was great because I actually did that in the studio with Poison. We used to hang out when I was in the band Nitro. We used to hang out with CeCeVille all the time. It was me, Jim Gillette, CeCe, and he needed a bodyguard because he was so crazy. And so, I wasn't far behind. But I'm actually fairly quiet, off stage, and I have a lot of energy, yes, but I'm an observer when I'm off stage. I kind of check out my surroundings a lot more. But it was great. We were in a recording studio, and I was there with Jim Gillette and CeCe, and there was a grand piano, and I went, and he looks at me, goes, "Okay, Beethoven, let's get the heck out of here." But he didn't say the word heck. But anyway, the reason why I'm saying that is because I said to myself, how can you apply this piano technique to guitar? How can you do? So the first thing that I did were arpeggios like this. Now I was in a band called Holland, and we were signed to Atlantic Records. I just played one of our songs, Gotta Run. It was a really great band, really great songs. I loved Tommy's voice, the lead singer. He was the leader of the band. And, I co-wrote every song on the album with Tom and the rest of the band. And even the drummer, Brad, took part in the music. It's all 4 of us. So anyway, what I did was I do a solo. If you Google Holland or look at Holland on YouTube, there's a live concert of me doing exactly what I'm talking about. I said to myself, how can I duplicate my intimidation riffs, arpeggios on guitar? So my first ones are like this. Now I'm going to stand up a little closer so you guys can see what's going on here. So it's like this. Now I am using an ES Series guitar. Okay, here we go. Now, the first thing I did, first of all, an arpeggio technically is called a broken chord. See, when you do sweep picking, see what you're doing is you're creating arpeggios in a rapid fire motion to simulate the sounds of a piano or a harp or an instrument that can play multiple strings like that really fast, or a piano. So the first one I did, see, instead of playing an A minor, that's a chord. 3 notes is a triad. If I play just this, now that's a 1/5, there's no third, but if I just even play this, that would be a triad, or this 1-3-5. There you go. That's the proper triad there, or minor. So anyway, to play an arpeggio, it means you break that chord up. You play a broken chord. So my first arpeggio was like this. But you know what? That was too kind, too gentle. I'm metal! It's not the way you're supposed to play arpeggios. So instead of going like this, what I did is I just played an A minor arpeggio, because if you think about arpeggios, there's an old song from the 1960s called House of the Rising Sun. Etc., etc., etc. He is arpeggiating the chord. And what that means, he's playing the chord like a broken chord. He's playing intervals, but you're not supposed to go. Now, I see this a lot online. And here's how I'm getting, because I want to give you a little background to this, because there's a method to the madness. It's not just a technique, but it's a whole series of events that create this sound. And so what I did was I just took an A minor shape, like House of the Rising Sun, a first position A minor, and I said, let's use that one. And I just created this. Now, I'm not saying that I invented it. Now, watch. A lot of people use hair ties, or they use, like, what are they called, fret wraps? I'm not the biggest fan of the fret wrap, but a lot of people use it. You know, I made a joke like, the only wrap I like is with beans and cheese at Taco Bell or Del Taco. But anyway, what I like to do is put the string dampener down. See, versus it clamps the door shut. Now, here's what I did. I simulated the piano motion by, here's the idea of a sweep. You literally take your picking hand, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, and you scroll. You literally glide down the strings. Now, I'm not saying that I invented this technique, because I didn't. There were people before I was born, Chet Atkins, other people that were able to do arpeggios. But this technique is something, sorry, my phone's ringing. Hello, hello. Okay, hang on. Let me turn this bad boy off here. Okay, or else I'm going to be, you know, it's funny when I do these, you know, my phone, ding, 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 ding. And so anyway, I thought I actually had it in silent mode. Okay, anyway, so going back to what I was talking about with the sweep technique, the idea is this. And like I said, I wasn't the first person that invented this. But I can tell you what I was the first person to do, to ever put this A minor shape in an instructional program for guitar. And so when you watch my what is called a Starlicks video, that's released by Metal Method. You can actually get this. This was done 5 years before Speed Kills, although Speed Kills is much more famous. But this was a really famous one for the time, too. This is the one that Dimebag study from. Michael Romeo has seen this, the one Ted Nugent saw. I mean, even Steve Morse had seen it. So now, okay, Thomas, okay, he's asking a question about bends. We are talking about sweep picking, not bends. That can be another lesson. And Thomas is a good friend, so I'm just giving him some stuff. Okay, so anyway, getting back to the idea of sweeping. I was the first person ever to put this technique in an instructional program. Now, that doesn't mean I invented it, but let me tell you what I did do that I see a million people online doing wrong. See, when you play an arpeggio, you're supposed to you glide down. What you do, let's take an A minor shape. You start on the 5th string, hammer to the 15th fret, 5th string, then go like that. You actually bar the 3rd and 4th strings on the 14th fret, 2nd string, 13th fret, 1st string, 12th fret. Then you come up to the 17th fret. So what you do is a downward motion, then you start your upward motion here, pull off, now what you do is this, when you go down, one motion, you start on the 12th fret, 5th string, hammer on to the 15th fret on the 5th string. That's Sweep 101. This is the granddaddy of them all. Then you start on the 17th fret, pull it off, and end there. End on an up pick there. Now here's what I've seen, and this is where I think a lot of people don't understand. And this is why I have so much clarity. And I've shown this technique before. You know, it's kind of like Doug Marks of Metal Method said something really interesting to me, because he's a big golfer. I don't really golf. But what he said was, he goes, you know, golfing's been around for well over a century. Who knows how long? I'm not that familiar with it. But he said that, he goes, no matter what, he said every month in Golf Magazine, they have to talk about putting and different things that people have done 100 years ago that they do today. And the same as sweeping. So I've explained this before, but the concept is kind of wild, because on your fretboard hand, you're moving a lot, but your picking hand, you are gliding back and forth. You're gliding down, then up, but you have to do this perfectly. These are demonstrated on my Speed Kills program. You can get it through Metal Method. It's one of the most famous guitar programs in the world. Speed Kills works. I show it in detail, but let me tell you here, this is the thing that I see with so many guitar teachers. They'll go, okay, here's the arpeggio fast. Now watch my hand when I'm doing this. Do you see how even that is? It's gliding straight up, straight down. Okay, so they play it like that. But then when they go slow, they go. They pick it. It's like how not to teach. Now, come on, guys and girls, get it together here. Okay, you don't play it slow differently than you play it fast. This is the whole idea. You have to play it slow correctly. Wow, what a concept. And so this is, I just saw this the other day. I'm on Instagram and I'm watching, you know, I see so many guitar players. I really keep up with what's going on. I know a lot of young players. I watch it all the time. So I don't want to stay behind and not know what the current trends are, and hopefully, you know, make my own trends. But the thing about good teaching is this: sweep technique needs to be practiced slow. So you don't demonstrate it with the wrong technique. You demonstrate it like this when you're playing slow. That's a sweep. Do you see how I can sweep slow? That is the idea. You need to practice this over and over. Now, I said this too. Oh, thanks. Somebody said I was great in Tallahassee. Hey, Ben, how are you? I see you online. Philip, how are you? Congratulations. Philip switched from right-handed to left-handed, and he's killing on guitar. It's great to see you here. So anyway, I'm going to move this chat thing down. Okay, now, the idea is very simple. When you practice sweep technique, see, do you hear how clear that is, how every note rings out? And it doesn't matter what pickup. Now it's on my bridge position pickup. So you hear all the notes, and practice slow. What I did literally to get this technique down, and I've said this before, I used to practice this 1,000 times a day. That would freak people out. I mean, I would just be like, it's like that commercial, I gotta make the donuts. I gotta make the donuts. I gotta make the donuts. It's like, I have to sweep. I have to sweep. I have to sweep. 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 But I would do it over and over, just one arpeggio. And I said this before, don't just watch your fretboard hand, watch your picking hand. So now, it's funny with this new with this new Facebook video screen, it's a little bit different. So it's been harder for me to get my full guitar on here. So you pick up the guitar. What is that? Somebody said use a radiation t-shirt. I don't know. I think we radiate the glow, bro. Okay, so anyway, so here's what I'm talking about. When you practice this, let's move this up. So yeah, give me your phone number. Sure. I do have a nice music number, though. You can go to my website, handswithoutshadows.com. Anyway, here's what I wanted to say. When you practice this, and I highly recommend to get my Speed Kills program, it has stood the test of time. It's really amazing, and it's as valid today as it was when I first filmed it. But see, the difference, I did a little more detail work than a lot of other players, and it is so important to play slow the way you play fast on these, and I just don't see it a lot. Everybody's going ding, 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 like down pick. What are you doing playing Metallica? This is a sweep. This isn't Master of Puppets. And so you have to learn to do this motion so evenly and practice it slower. Hey, Dave, how are you? What's up? Everything's good here. And so I cannot stress that enough, that you have to be able to play it down, up, and do it exactly like it's diagrammed. And so when you play, and start with the same minor shape, and start on the 12th fret, it's the easiest place. Somebody wrote what their problem is of sweep picking is. Hang on. Okay. Is the precision. I really don't have it, and I don't know how to improve it. Luis, that's what I've been talking about this entire time for the last 20 minutes. This is how you practice. You have to slow it down, and you have to play it slow the way you play fast. Also, you have to watch your picking hand. Do you see how smooth that is? See how clear the notes are? Also, on Speed Kills, I wrote the song No Boundaries. That's another instructional program called Speed Lives. And what I did was I showed on Speed Lives exactly in I think it's 27 different parts how I play No Boundaries. But No Boundaries was written as an exercise on one of the primary focuses, besides alternate picking, is sweep technique, because you can do 2 strings, 3 and 5, and then you get even more where you can do extensions. Now you can also, so you can do this, and then you can add that 6th string. So there's so many different ways to play arpeggios. But if you get anything out of these lessons, start from square one. See, don't jump to H. I equate, learning to the alphabet. Don't start at X, Y, and Z. You might be able to play it, but you're going to run into some type of configuration of sweeps or something where you're not going to be able to play it. And your musicality is not going to be able to overcome a technical flaw or a technical deficiency. And so I can't stress enough, play this bad boy. But you can play it fast like that, although that's not that fast. See, it doesn't matter what pickup I use. You know, there's this thing online that says, "Oh man, it's like easier to like play with your neck position pickup." I don't know. Here's the bridge position. It doesn't matter to me. I go with the sound that I like. So, yeah, a lot of times, the teacher that I am, I'm an unbiased teacher. I just teach you guys and girls the techniques. I don't sit there and say one is better than the other. One pickup is better than the other. One pickup is easier to play than the other. Really? Are you out of your mind? It's not. If you guys want to play my tribute to Randy and riff out like that, try it. If you try it on any pickup, see how hard it is or how easy it is for you. It's not. It's the sound. See, a pickup is only as good as the tone you want to create. And so I like to create sounds like this. I love this neck position. Why do I like that sound? I used to hear synthesizers when I was a kid, also jazz guitar players. They had a really nice round, and a synthesizer, they had, for example, on the old ARP Odyssey with this keyboard player that I play with, Doug Orlando, I remember it was two oscillators, so we could play two voices, but you had square waves. Whoops, okay, I'm out of frame here. So square waves like this. They were literally like a square wave, but they had that Keith Emerson song. It reminded me of a flute, and then I heard Robert Fripp from King Crimson. That really round sound. It was a round sound, and that's what I liked. So that's why I started using this neck position. I love it. But listen to the bridge. There's no difference in clarity or the speed or the accuracy. The only thing, why is A minor arpeggio so popular? Somebody said, because I think it's arpeggio 101. If you want to start, wrap a sock around your neck, same thing. Hey, bro, if you want to grab a sock and do it, you can. These are under $20. I highly recommend getting something besides a sock. I mean, we are in the 21st century. Hey, if you want to use a sock, I am not here to criticize you. It's only an observation. And I observed that I'm not even wearing socks right now. Here we go. And so I can't take one of my socks. So anyway, I highly recommend these string dampeners. Tony McAlpine uses them. Gabriel Guardian, a really great keyboard player, guitarist uses. But here's the thing that makes these so cool. Watch. See, when you do this, you get it. There's extraneous string noise when you're playing, especially with high volume amplifiers. You get noise. And so that clamps. Listen to that. It just slams the door shut. So it enables. And then you just move it out of the way when you don't use it. You don't have to drill into your guitar. They're amazing. They work fantastically. In my humble opinion, way better than a fret wrap, because a fret wrap, what are you going to do when you run out of frets? You can't pull it. You have to pull it over the nut or over a locking nut on a Floyd, which really would suck. And so I think that the technology is flawed, where I think the string dampener is better. And so now I have a patent on it, so what can I say? But I didn't invent it, but I made a better one, and I made a really good. But getting back to this sweep technique. I don't mean to pray. Okay, yes, I'm Pastor Mike here, and I am preaching the Shred Bible here. But what I can tell you is this. If you practice a specific exercise, now I said this in the last, I mentioned many times it took 2 years to develop my picking technique. I'm answering a little bit of the questions, and I'm going to go into it more because I'm zigzagging back and forth, but I want to help you. I mean, that's the bottom line. I'm here to help. I mean, what is my ulterior motive? Well, I hope you support me, but if you don't, at least you learn something. And really that's it. And also being a good teacher helped me. Did you experience problems with distortions too? With distortion playing arpeggios? No. One of the things that I use, I don't use tons of overdrive here. Now I'm playing through the little Sawtooth 20-watt tube amp behind me. See the cable going there? Now watch. So here's my sound. There are no effects. There are no effects. So I mean, it's more of a see, it's more of a rock sound than a metal sound, but then I put an overdriver. I have a signature overdrive, and then so it gets a really good sound. I mean, I love Sawtooth amps. They're real tube amps. They sound great. And so I don't have a problem playing them clean or playing them with overdrive. I'm using overdrive here because that's how I taught in Speak Hills. And I love, to me, overdrive is more violin sound and jazz sound, or a clean sound many times, unless you're highly compressing it, it is more almost like a piano sound. It's more percussive. And so here's what I do. Somebody said, what do I recommend about the BPM for? I don't really, I know BPM very well. It means beats per minute. And, obviously, when I write music, everything's to a click track. So I know the exact tempos of songs. And I know tempos really good. Like I hear 180, 190, 200 all the time. I just know what they are. I could play 16th notes to them. So what I can say is this. When you practice, don't worry so much about the BPM. Don't be so clinical about it. You need to do it like that. What you need to do is to practice it slow and accurately. If you can't go, if you play a sweep like that, you're not going to be able to play fast unless you want solid. Whoa! Impressing my friends. No, that's not the way you do it. You just that slow. See how accurate that is? And then you add, now I don't have the string dampener down, let's put it down. Let's use the bridge pickup, doesn't matter to me. Then you start by playing it, and now I'm watching the screen. So don't flame me for saying watch your picking hand, and then I don't watch it all the time. I do this when I'm rehearsing. I'm trying to tell you how to play this right, because to do it slow, and I said this in my last on all the master classes that I do on tour, and this is very important. When you think about music and you want to be better as a musician, you have to separate music into two parts. Play music. So if you want to play some would argue, is that really music? So anyway, but when you play songs you like, play stuff you like, play riffs you like, do whatever you want, but separate the technique. When you are working on sweep technique, play an exact arpeggio. Don't worry about the musicality of it. You are working on a technique to incorporate it into your musical vocabulary. And so, it's like your musical arsenal. What weapons do you have in the musical arsenal? Sweep technique is kind of a misunderstood technique. Some people don't like it. They're like, no, I don't sweep. I have to tap that arpeggio. Why? And I said this before. Why? Did a sweep hurt you one time? Were you dating a sweep? Did they ghost you? Not tell us. Did they ghost you? And so, were you gaslighted by a sweep? And so, the idea is very simple. No technique is good or bad. They're all fantastic. You get to choose what you want to describe in a musical way your feelings by using these different techniques. And so sweep picking is this. Somebody asked, what is my favorite Greek mode? Let me tell you this. Our whole tonal system started with the Greeks. So you can take it from there. I love a lot of modes. My degree's in music theory. The difference between a mode and a scale is a mode has no tonal center, where a scale does. And what I mean by that is no mode goes or. And so, but getting back to the arpeggios, let me make sure I beat the heck out of this guitar. It doesn't have a locking trem, so I just restrung it. People ask me about restringing guitars and about, working with Floyd Rhodes. I want to do that. I want to do an instructional program of how I deal with Floyd Rhodes. And I'll tell you why I'm uniquely qualified of this. I have done thousands of clinics around the world, 58 countries. Okay, China 15 times. I've said this before. England, I don't remember. It's been so many times that I've been to England, every region. Scotland, Wales. It doesn't matter. Ireland, England. I've been all over the UK performing. Italy, so many times I can't even remember. Russia, 4 or 5 times already. And so what I've done in workshops is outside of my double guitar, I never played my guitars. And my signature series, many of them have locking trems. And a lot of times they were not set up for me. They didn't even have the right string gauges. I like 9 to 42 for leads. So I would get like 10 to 46. Sometimes people would like to mess with me and put 11s. And I'm like, okay, so you think that I'm weak, that I'm worthless and weak, that I cannot do this? What? And I would, people used to laugh that have seen me play because dude, you can play any guitar. But it's true. I can play almost any type of guitar because I'm so experienced. But that also led me to understand what I like about guitars. And so what I learned about Floyd Rose is this. A lot of times they're just not set up right. Now, guitar luthiers would scream about this. See, what I do is I take a screwdriver with me. And what I do is I open up the back plate and I adjust the springs to counter the tension, because a lot of times people will set up a locking trem on a bench. Wrong. If you're going to stand up, it's always 100% of the time flat when you stand it up. Well, I can't tell people that. I would say it in the riders. But anyway, so I'm extreme. I don't think anybody in this world has played more different guitars than me and had to adjust locking trems. I think I can safely say that because I've gone thousands of shows not using my own main guitar, only bringing the double. Now, but I want to do that. A little sidebar there. But anyway, what I did with this arpeggio is I focus. And this is what you have to do. You have to think music because you like to play music. But when you think of techniques, separate that. Say, I am working 100% tunnel vision on an arpeggio. And start with this A minor 1 on the 12th fret. You will thank me for it. And play this over and over and over. Watching your fretboard hand, yes, but also watching your picking hand. Now, somebody said, is my picking hand also rigid, same when I'm doing all picking? Rigid is not the right word. When I play slow, I move my thumb and my index finger. I actually play very relaxed. It just doesn't move that much. It's like I kick into gear. Like a lot of people will use their arm, I love you, I love you. And they're sitting there strumming away all happy. I'm happy, I'm strumming. I don't play like that. Homie, don't play that game. I sit there like this. It's a little bit of my elbow. Watch my elbow, how little it moves when it hardly moves. And then it doesn't move nearly as much. So I have no stress on my elbow. What does that say? No tendonitis. And so then when I move my picking hand, my wrist, a human wrist moves up and down. It doesn't move side to side like a lot of guitar players play. And so what I do, and see, that's why I like holding your pick like this too. It's a really good motion. You're going side to side, but it's an arm motion almost. But don't concern yourself so much with this. But my picking hand has been developed over years. It started accidentally, and then I realized I have a really great way to pick. I say it's like everybody else's, but it's so comfortable for me to play, and I never ever have had a problem with it. You know how many guitar players that are young that have tendonitis in their wrist and their elbow, and because there's too much motion going on, economy of motion. Now again, I didn't invent that phrase, but I used it for the first time on an instructional program. So what you hear a lot of these things in the vernacular of modern guitar, these things started with somebody like me saying, look at, and not necessarily inventing everything. Okay, yeah, I invented this and I invented my double, but I was able to articulate what I was going to teach, and I used phrases, PPS, potential picking speed, economy of motion, talking about don't do the banana. You don't want to bend your finger like this unless it's absolutely, unless you have to do it. And so the moral of the story is when you're practicing this, see, even when do you hear that? There's a lot of notes being played, and that's the hard part about a sweep, because your fretboard hand is doing a lot of work, and your picking hand is gliding down and up. When you play slow, do the same motion. Don't be like ding, ding, ding. Here's it fast. Here's it slow. Ding, 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 ding. I saw this the other day. I wanted to go, bro, come on. You're teaching this stuff? Hello? But I didn't. It's not my place to criticize, but I can tell you, I do it the right way. And it works. And my song No Boundaries, you can get this on the Speed Lives program, shows how to play that song. Slow equals fast. Watch your picking hand. Not all the time, but when you're practicing this, watch it and play over and over. Ben just said about the string dampener. He's a good friend. Okay, let's see. When this finishes, you turn to hop on. Okay, I don't know. Oh, somebody asked what I tune. I tune down to E flat, but not all of my music has that. In fact, I'm actually thinking when I get my 7-string model from Sawtooth, because of this coronavirus, and I just refer to it as the craziness, because I think a lot of what keeps people alive and what's sane is your mental attitude. And my mental attitude is basically two things. One, I'm going to get past it. And two, I'm going to thrive when it's done. It's that simple. And so it's it's almost a naive point of view, because I don't think about all the details of it. You can't, because there's so much information. There's so many opinions out there. It's become, even the World Health Organization has politicized this. So that politics is going to be involved. That one country's saying, well, they're doing this, and another country's saying that. They're just trying to leverage people feel, the publicity wars, and it's almost as important to them as keeping people healthy. My goal would be, we don't want to see anybody die from this, but also my mindset's pretty simple. I'm going to get past this. I'm not talking, to anybody outside of either on my phone, texting, communication like that, not face to face. I live by myself, and I've got 160 guitars, so I'm not bored. But afterwards, It might be a little bit different. People might not be shaking hands, who might do fist bump a lot or just say, hi, how are you? That's it. But other than that, we return to normal, man. That's the goal. To be normal, just to have our lives and do what we want to do and play and rock. So that's the goal, to rock. Now, when you practice this, I cannot stress enough, and I'll say this over and over till my dying day, play the techniques as properly, as precisely, as accurately, as smoothly and slow as you can. Play them slow and play with the right technique slow. If you find you're having problems, and don't worry about the PM, this is not music. There's a term in music called rubato, and that means you stretch measures. Like, if you've ever watched Andrea Bocelli sing, time to say goodbye, na 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 na. I mean, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. But when I watched him in concert, I went with my mom, and I'm noticing, see, in orchestral music, measures are not like ding, 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 ding. It's not quantized, meaning it's not perfect. They stretch and they move measures. That's called rubato. So when I was watching Andrea Bocelli, I was so surprised at how the music breathed. It was breathing and the measure stretched out. Somebody said, can I get closer? The music was breathing and it was moving, and the tempos were fluctuating. You could not program this on regular BPM DAW system. It would be really difficult. You would just have to throw out the bar line. But and my mom and I were talking about it. My mom's like, well, how do you think he does it? Because my mother was a trained musician. And I said, Mom, I go, watch the conductor. See, what the conductor was doing is, because Andrea Bocelli's blind. He's one of my all-time favorite singers. I love him. You know why? Because he always hits that big note when you expect. He gives you what you want. See, I feel that's like about myself. When people say, oh, well, you put too many notes in this. Well, I'm not here to be a balladeer to everybody. When you see me in concert, I play to the best of my ability and I tear it up. I rip faces. That's what you come to see. But it's really good. And I play it as accurately and as good as I can. That's what people want to see. And I equate it to the high C of a tenor. When they're singing that big note, Andrea Bocelli always sings the big note. But what I told my mom is, watch, listen to him sing. He is conducting the conductor. And now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Andrea Bocelli says, no, that's not what I do. But if you're blind, you cannot watch the conductor, because the conductor is the timepiece of an orchestra. So if you cannot watch him, he watches the star and conducts the rest of the ensemble, listening to the vocalist. I don't see anybody. What else? Oh yeah, Judas Priest and Nitro. Now, with going back to sweep technique, I've gone over this several times already, but I'm going to recap here. Now you can see. Listen to it even when it's soft. Now, do you hear that? Now, let's put the string dampener on here. This string dampener is amazing. That was off. You can be... Now, I played it a little more reckless there, but it sounded perfect. String dampeners, fret wraps. Somebody said put a sock. Hey, man, use a sock. It's up to you. Just create the sound you want. There's nothing cheating when you're actually playing it and you're creating the sound you want. That's in my humble opinion. But that's not a teaching thing. That's just an observation and a comment. Getting to the teaching part of it, when you play, start with the A minor arpeggio, the 12th fret. When you play it fast and slow, it should be the same. And if you can't play it, why is it always A minor arpeggio? Why is it so popular? It's my favorite anyway. Somebody asked that before. It's not that it's the most popular. It's the basic shape to learn sweep picking. That's why. It's not like, oh, A minor, like it's my favorite chord of all time. No, it has nothing to do with that. We're teaching. This is not about music. This is about using a technique to create music. You separate this. And somebody said they have my old guitar company brand. Can't give you any recommendations on that one. I use Sawtooth Guitars exclusively. I love them. And we're going, oh, I didn't mention this. we are going to have a bunch of new MAB signature models. People keep asking me. The reason why is the craziness that's going on in our world. Coronavirus. So we can't get things done right now. Everybody can't group together. We can talk via, like video conferencing or texting or on the phone, but we can't get everything made right now. So it's been delayed, but you are going to see a lot of signatures come out by me that are amazing. And, I don't play pointy stuff. I like more traditional shapes. That's what I started with. Sawtooth was able to build, what happened to my microphone, camera there. Okay, sorry. Sawtooth was able to build a brand new double guitar in 3.5 weeks. That is the best double guitar I've had in years. And I can't stress that enough. I did a 28 city tour, plus played another at least 15 to 20 shows at NAMM. And that was only till the end of February this year. I probably played 40 or 50 shows because I can't exactly remember how many times I played at NAMM because it was multiple times a day. And so, but what I can tell you is this: they are a great company run by great people that are musicians, and they also have people that are involved in the music industry. That's a lot different than taking somebody who doesn't play an instrument, who doesn't even come from a musical background, and being the CEO of a company and saying, oh yes, I'm so passionate about music. Well, what do you know about it? Well, I'm really passionate about it. And then you can go and say whatever you want. But the point is that Sawtooth is not like that. Sawtooth is run by music industry top professionals, not just people who decided that one day, oh, I'm going to quit guitar and play. They are truly great business people that are really passionate about the products and as players and singers too. Okay, sometime will I make to Perth? I've actually been to Australia 3 times. I was in Perth. It's a beautiful place. I love Australia. Okay, now let's look at some questions here while we have the remaining time. Yeah, tendonitis. Hey, Eugene, how are you? Yeah, tendonitis sucks. I've never had it. But I can recommend something. If you have tendonitis or you have like, anywhere, I'm very fortunate. I mean, maybe genetics, but part of it is I just take care of myself. I mean, I'm still thin. I can still do 21 shows in a row, plus a meet and greet and a VIP lesson for almost 2 hours, well, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, even before I play. And we did this every day. So I'm very, I'm really in healthy shape. But if you do have tendonitis or you get carpal tunnel, I can say this, not as being a doctor, but someone who takes care of themselves. I'm like an athlete. I'm like a musical athlete because, I play the double guitar with my strap around my neck. You put 15 pounds or about 7 kilograms around your neck for 15 minutes a day for 150 days a year. See how you feel. And so see if you don't walk around going, my neck, it kind of feels weird today. It's like walking around like a gorilla because you can't move your neck. Here's the moral of the story. Get a chiropractor. Find somebody who does alternative medicines before you. I'm a firm believer in any kind of medicine. And this has nothing to do with, quote, Western doctors. I like Western medicine, all right? Or when I was in China, Eastern medicine, call it what you want. Normal, proper doctors. But I also believe that there are people that are born healers. My ex-fiance, Steph, one of them, she's a genius in the literal sense of the word. She's a PhD. She could have easily been a doctor in anything from a heart surgeon to, the most advanced science that we can have as being a doctor. She deals in, I hope I'm not saying it the wrong way, like Ayurvedic, but alternative medicines, acupuncture, but it works. It works great. So I can say this for anybody who has a problem. Surgery, here's the moral of my story. Surgery should be the very last option because once you cut into yourself, there's no turning back. So try everything first. Now, also too, if you have a problem with your wrist, or a problem with your hand, try this. Try a workaround. Say It's a great friend of mine, Rob Ross. He's a counselor in the 12-step program. The guy is brilliant, and he always has a great saying. I'm the same way too. I always have sayings. It's better to need it and not have it than to have it and not need it. That's what I feel about everything in life. And so why not have something if you don't need it? But if you don't want it, hey. But if you need it someday and you don't got it, you're in trouble. Where they're cleaning out the aisles, toilet paper. Hey. So if you need it and you don't got it, you're in trouble. But you got plenty of it, you don't need it. And anyway, but here we go, back to this. Rob told me one time, I said, Rob, it hurts when I do this. I used to work out so much. I accidentally had dislocated my wrist slightly from doing curls. And what does that do? It gives you that cut in your shoulder. It's actually for shoulders. It wasn't this. It was this exercise. It was where you move your arms straight up like that. And I was doing pretty heavy weight for a pencil neck, for a skinny guy like me. I was doing 35 pounds with one arm. And so what happened was my wrist started to hurt from that. But I never got worried about it because I never hurt my guitar playing because I hardly used. And when I met Stephanie, I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I've been to other doctors. I said, my wrist, it hurts when I do this. And here's what Rob said. He goes, well, then don't do that. Duh. It hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do it. It makes sense to me, but it's so basic. It's like the wheel, I mean, I didn't think it, but when I talked to Stephanie, she felt and she goes, and she's the only doctor that ever said this to me. I went to like 3 or 4 different doctors. They didn't know what was going on. I said, it hurts when I do this, but it never hurts outside of that. And Stephanie goes, Michael, she goes, your wrist is dislocated. I go, no way. Oh, she goes, oh yeah, it is. And she actually took her hands and she went like this. And I heard, and it pops in. And then it popped out again a couple days later and she fixed it again. It's been perfect. So it doesn't hurt when I do this anymore, but it never hurt my guitar playing because of my economy of motion. So and here's what I'm saying, if you have a problem and something hurts, think first, it hurts when I do this, so don't do it. Try a workaround. Try some people, I like to sit like this with my hands, like a classical guitar player. I wish this, like I said, this is a new Facebook software go live program. So the first time we're using it today, the camera is actually the actual thing that you see. The screen is a little more limited than other times. It used to be a little lower because I've got a real nice camera on my computer. But anyway, when you play, I like to sit with like a classical guitar player, because when you stand and sit down, it's the same. Where if you stand and you sit like this, it's different. Okay. Any advice on exercise? I want to sweep all over the fretboard. Yeah, really 1,000 times a day. Yeah, sorry, I'm answering a few questions. But anyway, here's what I was going to say about being hurt, and then I'll get back to your questions. When you play and something hurts, try what I call a workaround. It's kind of like computers. I took a class on computers. I didn't grow up in the computer age. I didn't grow up in the gaming age. I'm older. And I didn't even learn how to type. I didn't even know how to use a word processor. Word to me looked like hieroglyphics. I didn't even understand it. So I said, you know what? I don't even know where to start. And here my mom was brilliant. She could type well over 100 something words a minute. She grew up as far back as DOS. She understood computers, but she wasn't able to teach me. She was a great doer, but it takes a special talent to be able to articulate ideas so people understand them. To teach. Teaching is showing you something. Teaching is not showing you how smart you are. So anyway, I took this class, and this relates to guitar and to life. What I took was a class to discern what was a big problem and what was a minor problem on computers. And I had a really good teacher, it was a woman, and she said something interesting to me. She said, if you have 2 identical computers with identical software, it's like a clone. She goes, each one will find a different way to route and store information. It won't be identical. And she said, if you put a card in one slot, She called it, she goes, it gets married to the slot. She goes, yeah, you can change it, but once the computer gets used to it, and I kind of started thinking about computers, even my phone, it's like these little thinking things they might not have AI yet, we're not artificial, but they don't have intelligence like that. But there's workarounds. So when I hit quirks on a computer now, I can tell first of all immediately is it major or minor. But if it's minor, and it just, we have all dealt with that where there's quirky programs. So you find workarounds. You find, well, it works this way. Or, even though the directions say, it's kind of like the Half-Blood Prince. If you ever watched that movie with Harry Potter, it was Snape's book. But the professor was teaching the class, said, you make the potion like this. But Snape had workarounds. And it's the same thing I'm talking about. If you're hurt, try a different motion. Try maybe sitting like this, like a classical guitarist, isn't good for you. Maybe move it this way. Find a workaround to make yourself more comfortable. And so, anyway, I hope this helps. Now we've got a few more minutes. Where's the link to buy the string dampener? If Kevin's around, it's ChromaCast. And then if you go to my website, handswithoutshadows.com, it can take you to, but it's ChromaCast, or Google MAB string dampener. I'm telling you, these things are really reasonably priced, and they're freaking amazing. And I especially, when you're, listen to that. It just clamps on. It just slams the door shut with noise, because here's what you want to avoid: extraneous string noise, which means you want to avoid mistakes. I mean, a lot of the shrapnel guitar players in the old days. Why is somebody messaging me? Okay. Anyway, in the old shrapnel days, I was on Shrapnel Records. I did one album with Mike Varney. It was like a badge of honor. But a lot of people did tie socks. In the studio, you do whatever you can to play as clean as you can. I always use my string dampener. Why not? I'm still playing the riffs. I still have to play them, and so. But they're really amazing. Did I ever play Gibson guitars? Yeah, I have 167 guitars in my collection right now, and I have the only Gibson double guitar on planet Earth. It's worth a lot. It was built by Wayne Charvel through Gibson. It's pretty amazing. It has the old 100-plus-year-old Orville Gibson logos on it. But I'm a Sawtooth endorser. And if you know anything about me, I don't jump companies unless there's a really good reason. And I had a really good reason to leave my former company. Two reasons. One, I just like the people in Sawtooth a lot more. I love their vision more. But two, the old owner of my former company died. And with him died my loyalty to that company. To me, it's just not even, you can't compare the company before and what it is now. So, and that's not good or bad. It's just that it wasn't a comfortable fit for me anymore. So I went where I felt that we shared a similar vision, and Sawtooth makes amazing guitars. They make amazing amps, and they also have ChromaCast. Is there a goal BPM to reach? Because I've talked enough about sweeps. You can watch this video. You can replay it after we're done. Is there a BPM goal to reach in order to be considered a fast guitar player? Yeah, I don't play pointy guitars. Even my new double guitar is not pointy. My old doubles used to break off and the tips broke off. Every single one of them had the tips break off of those points. And I got tired of it. I really love my new company. That's what I'll tell you. Okay, is there a BPM goal to reach in order to be considered a fast guitar player? Let me tell you my feeling about it. In orchestral music, a classical metronome, presto, okay, meaning fast in Italian, usually goes up to about 204. Anything over about 204 is like, you really, in the real world of music, you're not going to necessarily need it. That doesn't mean don't do it. I mean, I can play faster than 200. So I play faster than 220. So it doesn't matter. But let me tell you what I consider the shred zone, and I'm talking straight 16th notes, because you can do 16th note triplets and back down the BPM considerably, but play as many notes. So we're looking purely at 16th notes. When you get into the 180 and to the 190 BPM zone, that is what I consider the shred zone. 190 to 200, you're getting really fast. Anything above 200, it's extremely fast. 220, you're in the lightning zone. Anything above that, now these are 16th notes, because see, I've seen people go, I can play 400 BPM. Yeah, but dude, it's eighth notes, so you're really only playing 200. It depends what the note value is, what the duration of the note is versus your time signature. That's all. And so I look at it at 16th notes because it's easy to understand in my head. 180 BPM, 16th notes, you are entering the shred zone. Anything below 180, yeah, it's fast, but it's not shred. And so in my humble opinion, now some people might differ, we're talking 16th notes, 180 BPM, only based on 16th notes. Then 180 to 190, shred zone, pretty fast. 190, 200, fast. 200, 210, really, really fast. Anything above 210, 220, lightning. You're in trans warp drive. So, okay, hello from Sicily. I love Sicily. Okay, now how heavy was this quad? Really heavy. Like put 4 guitars on it. It was really heavy. Okay, now, yeah, I do call this a craziness. But one of the things that I want to do too is, especially in a time like this, one of the things about my methodology is it works. I say speed kills works because I have a degree in music now, and I read all these memes like, no billionaires have college degrees. Well, I never cared about being a billionaire. My dad used to say, son, you can be the richest person in the world, you can be the most famous. He said, but you know what the most important thing is? To be happy. And he goes, son, are you happy? He always called me son, never Mike or Michael. Or he called me Mab, M-A-B. And my sister was M-A-B too, Marcia Ann Batio. I was married, so Marcia Ann Liswick, but unfortunately she passed away. So there were 2 Mabs in the family. But I'm happy. And I love to teach. I love to perform. I have a new record that's been done since last year. This craziness delayed it. It should have been out already. I should have been playing songs from my new album. My new album's amazing. It's called More Machine Than Man. And where I got that title, Guitar World gave it to me. So I'm not self-proclaimed. I didn't proclaim myself the fastest. I never proclaimed myself more machine than man. And I'm noticing there's some other people using that kind of thing like they are cyborgs, they are cyber. Well, they gave that to themselves. Guitar World gave it to me. I kind of like to believe it. Why not? But a lot of this is life philosophy. See, for example, just to focus your mind on a technique instead of going, and I'll say, David Gilmour puts more feeling in one note than you could ever play, Angelo Batio. Shut up, dude. I'm not going to hire David Gilmour to play No Bounds or Time Traveler. You play technique and music at the same time. But technique you have to focus on like a laser beam. You focus on playing it exactly the same way slow as you play fast. You focus on it by doing it right. And right means as perfect as possible. But perfection is not the goal. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. In fact, Native Americans, certain tribes would weave these really intricate blankets and they'd purposely put imperfections in them because man is not perfect. It's a perfect summation. Perfection is paralysis through analysis. You analyze it to the point of paralysis. Like, it's not perfect. I can never be perfect. I can't do it. Oh my God. No. The idea is to set the bar high and just hit the bar. Nothing's perfect. Every album I've ever done, every song I've ever done, I find something in there that I said, man, if I could do that again, I would do it all over again. I would do that part different. So, but I also say to myself, is it good enough? And that's the thing that you have to ask yourself. Is it good enough? Practice technique with tunnel vision. When you're playing these arpeggios, if you want to play. Now, this is written my Speed Kills program, No Boundaries, is all about, it's a song about arpeggio technique. Like when somebody said, playing arpeggios all over the fretboard, No Boundaries is an exercise in that. But you have to get the arpeggio down. And by doing that, practice one arpeggio, one. When you work on this, then you can move 5 strings, practice 1 3-string. Get the mechanism down, get the motion, get the feel for sweep picking. You get the feel, then you become better and better. And then now also too, if you're playing it too slow, one thing I said in my last lesson, which is really true, sometimes what you want to do is play faster than you're capable of to feel the need and feel the power and the majesty of speed. And we ain't talking drugs because I'm totally straight. Okay, so in other words, you want to just feel what it's like, to play like that, like I did in Freight Train. And so, but what all that does is it actually gives you the feel of what it's like to play fast, but you still have to work up for that. So you start from slow and build up to fast. Then you start sometimes with abandon and bring it down to where you can play it. So you tackle it on both ends. That is the proper way, or that's the way I do it, but it works. And especially playing slow, gradually increasing it. And trying to play it as fast as you can. I can't stress that enough. Okay, let's see. Let's take one more question. And but I want to say too, with the Sawtooth Guitars, I'm not going to answer any more questions about why I've left my former company. I love Sawtooth Guitars. I've worked with the people that own Sawtooth for years now. I actually met them because they own a music store called Go DPS, and that's where we met. And I was so impressed with the way they operated the store, and I just liked them, and I respected them, and I like the intelligence that they brought to the way they do things, and the passion, because that's the way I look at it. I try to work hard, I try to work smart, and I try to believe. I can't do something unless I believe it. See, I don't wear a shirt unless I believe in that shirt. I believe in this shirt, and I believe in the name on the shirt, and that's the way I live. I have to be like that in everything I do, or I can't. If I don't like something, I don't like it, and I don't want to think about it, and I don't want to deal with it. And so, I have multiple signature guitars coming out, and we are even going to mass produce my new double guitar. So you get to check out the double. And also my string dampeners through ChromaCast, that's their company. I have strings, picks, cables, but I have a method to the madness. My methodology works. I am living proof. Never been hurt, ever. Okay, the only time I was ever hurt was doing this with a weight that was too heavy for me. They call that gym jealousy, where you see somebody like working out with heavy weights, and then you want to do that and show them that you are He-Man or He-Girl, or bad. I can't say girl, but sometimes like, all right, man, you have bigger muscles than I do. Women could beat me in arm wrestling at the gym, and so, but I didn't go there to I'm going there to play guitar as good as I can, to stay in its best physical shape that I can, and my stamina to play guitar effortlessly. But I've never been hurt because of that, because I practice what I preach. My methodology works. Speed Kills works. I don't care if you learn the lost arpeggio or you can do lightning things. Get Speed Kills, because you always want to practice these fundamentals to keep yourself razor sharp, not only one as you get older, one like this, one divisible by metal, but it will help you later when you find a riff that's really, really difficult for you to play. So it works on so many levels, but Speed Kills works. Right there, that's the ChromaCast website. Now let's see, who else can I? There's one other question here. Okay, good people, check them out. Yes. Okay, but can you play Smoke on the Water? I'm gonna call you out, Brian Casey. Look you know how old that is? That's older than me. Okay, don't say that. It's so cliched. Okay, I mean, and the reason, like, what do you think, dude? Do you honestly think that I can't? Or is it supposed to be funny? Because it's not. Because it's kind of the joke you've heard 10,000 times. So it's the only thing. Don't say that stuff. You know, I take music very seriously. I have a good time, but of course I can play Smoke on the Water under, over the neck, left-handed, right-handed. There you go. Okay, let's see. Now, let's see one other thing. Okay, I practiced that in a mirror and it changed it. Yeah, mirrors work, I guess. Let's see. Okay, you have great vibrato. Yes, thank you. I worked hard on the vibrato. I want to see some other questions here, but I can't stress enough how to practice. See, because this is a life lesson. Because, you know, Henry Ford had a great saying, if you believe you can or you can't, you're right either way. Sometimes you have to go into things with almost a naive thought that you're just going to do it. When you practice, why do you think I say just have reckless abandon sometimes when you play? When you're practicing this, because you want to feel what it's like to play it like MAB speed or Yngwie Malmsteen speed or John Petrucci. You want to feel what that's like. So you get a sense of that feeling. It's kind of like, how do you know what a jet feels like at 10,000 meters or like 39, it's about 39,000 feet. How do you know what it feels like unless you're up there? So in other words, you do that, but that doesn't mean it's what you're aspiring to do, but you feel it because you feel it inside. Because even when you practice technique, it's an emotional thing. You get a connection. It's like I said, if you're hurting or something's not working right, do a workaround. Because these are life lessons. They're not just guitar lessons. Speed kills. It's a life discipline with me. This isn't just playing guitar and then go off and do something else. Guitar is me. I am guitar. That's it. And when I practice with a purpose and I have a methodology that works. So if you get anything out of this, practice, practice, practice. Sawtooth Guitars rule, Sawtooth Amps rule, ChromaCast, string dampener, all the other stuff rules, and practice slow and as perfect as you can. But perfection's not the goal. Get the technique right, and then you apply that technique to what? Your music. So I'm Michael Angelo Batio. I'm going to be here next week with another really cool lesson. And I'm also, in 2 weeks from now, we're going to do something really innovative, really cool online. We'll be explaining that soon. But next Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, California time, 6 p.m. Chicago time, 7 p.m. New York time. Now let's see. The UK is 6 hours later than Chicago, so it's midnight. Italy is 7 hours later than Chicago, so it'd be 1 a.m. Beijing is 12 hours later, so just flip a day. But anyway, I'm Michael Angelo Batio for Sawtooth Guitars, Sawtooth Amps, and ChromaCast Music Products. See ya.